Between 2024 and 2026, the Middle East became the proving ground for the most concentrated conventional missile conflict in modern history. Swarms of ballistic and cruise missiles traded across multiple borders in a sustained, overt exchange between the U.S. Israel coalition and Iran. Ground troops never crossed borders. This was entirely a standoff war. It was fought in the sky, deep underground, and out at sea, defined by the exhaustion of air defense stockpiles, massive bunker-busting munitions, and maritime interdiction. The timeline traces back to April 1, 2024, when an Israeli precision strike destroyed a diplomatic annex next to the Iranian embassy in Damascus. That strike shattered the long-running covert shadow war, triggering a retaliatory spiral that ultimately expanded into the massive U.S.-led Operation Epic Fury campaign in early 2026. This chart shows the open-source confidence levels we are using to verify the weapon deployments in this analysis. High confidence requires multiple independent confirmations, or official records backed by visual evidence. Medium relies on single high-reputation sources, and low indicates unverified single-source claims. By mapping the exact munitions deployed and the quantities consumed, we can measure exactly how modern standoff warfare operates mechanically. The data reveals a difficult reality. The U.S. and Israel maintained absolute technological and precision overmatch, yet that overmatch did not easily or rapidly dismantle the adversary's capacity to fight. Iran's offensive doctrine relies on a specific mathematical approach to air defense. By synchronization of massive volumes of threats across multiple flight vectors, they attempt to saturate and overwhelm layered defensive shields. Operation True Promise I in April 2024 executed this doctrine exactly. The strike package included roughly 170 Shahed 131 and 136 one-way attack drones, followed by at least 30 Pava cruise missiles. These specific systems fly slow, low-altitude trajectories. Their purpose is to flood the zone with cheap volume, forcing targeting radars to track hundreds of contacts and forcing defenders to expend initial interceptor stocks early. Behind that low-altitude screen came the high-altitude component, more than 120 ballistic missiles, specifically the Imad, Ghadar-1, and Khaibar-Shikan. By October 2024, the tactics escalated. Operation True Promise II abandoned the slow drone screen entirely, shifting to a high-tempo barrage of approximately 180 advanced ballistic missiles. Open-source assessments identified two specific models dominating this wave, the Fatah-1 and the Khaibar-Shikan. Both of these missiles utilize solid-fueled propulsion. Unlike liquid-fueled rockets that require hours of highly visible fueling on the launch pad, solid-fuel missiles can be rolled out and fired in minutes. This drastically reduces the launch preparation footprint, denying Allied sensors crucial early warning time. In their terminal phase, these systems deploy maneuvering warheads. As they re-enter the atmosphere, they rapidly alter their trajectory, actively evading the projected intercept cones of ground-based radars. Between April and October, the strategy evolved from relying on sheer volume to weaponizing speed. By compressing the warning time, they forced Allied defense algorithms to allocate multiple interceptors against highly unpredictable targets in a fraction of the time. To survive this volume, the U.S. and Israel rely on an integrated defense architecture. It operates in multiple overlapping layers, coordinating radar tracking and interceptor launches across ground and naval assets. During the April 2024 barrage, U.S. Navy Aegis destroyers intercepted incoming ballistic missiles using SM-3 interceptors. The outermost layer is exoatmospheric, engaging threats in space. This marked the first confirmed combat use of the SM-3 system. High-end defense requires high-end expenditures. The Navy fired between 4 and 7 interceptors in April, and roughly a dozen more to defend Israel during the October barrage. Threats that survive space re-entry hit the terminal phase layers. Here, U.S. ground-based systems like THAAD operate alongside Israel's proprietary network of Iron Dome, David's Sling, and Arrow systems. This architecture works flawlessly in isolated engagements, but against sustained barrages, it exposes a critical vulnerability known as the reload gap. Defending against mass-produced, relatively cheap ballistic threats requires firing multiple interceptors that cost millions of dollars each. This graph illustrates the attrition curve. During the June 2025 phase of the war, Open-source data indicates the United States expended over 150 THAAD interceptors in a matter of days to maintain the shield. Even with total air superiority, defending fixed targets becomes a math problem. When highly complex defensive munitions are fired faster than the industrial base can manufacture replacements, the defense system faces structural exhaustion. Recognizing the unsustainability of pure defense, the coalition transitioned to offensive operations. The goal shifted to the suppression and destruction of enemy air defenses, alongside the systematic dismantlement of military infrastructure. Rather than hunting mobile missile launchers across vast deserts, Israel's October 2024 retaliation targeted production bottlenecks. They struck the specific solid fuel mixing infrastructure at the Parchin and Kojir military complexes, aiming to choke off the supply chain. These precision strikes relied heavily on F-35I stealth fighters, deploying a specific mix of standoff weapons, GBU-31 JDAMs, small-diameter bombs, and Spice-1000 munitions. In June 2025, the targeting expanded to nuclear facilities. At the Arak heavy water reactor, strike footage indicates the use of Popeye missiles. These weapons feature man-in-the-loop terminal guidance, allowing operators to manually steer the missile to precisely breach the reactor's containment dome. However, the heaviest penetrators in the Israeli arsenal were incapable of reaching deeply buried enrichment sites like Fordow. Neutralizing those targets required direct United States intervention under Operation Midnight Hammer. The U.S. deployed an extreme penetration strike package. B-2 stealth bombers flew long-range sorties to drop 14 GBU-57 massive ordnance penetrators directly onto the buried facilities. The MOP operates on raw physics. It is a 30,000-pound weapon engineered to slice straight down through natural bedrock and heavily reinforced concrete. Once it reaches the target depth, a delayed fuse initiates the detonation from inside the bunker. The pinpoint strikes of 2024 and 2025 eventually gave way to the massive Operation Epic Fury in early 2026. This phase escalated the air war into a campaign of sustained, relentless saturation strikes against command nodes and launch sites across the country. The primary workhorse for this volume of fire was the Tomahawk land attack cruise missile. Open-source reporting confirms an immense consumption rate, with the U.S. Navy firing over 850 Tomahawks in just 4 weeks. Allied precision easily dismantles high-value targets on the surface, but methodically hunting and destroying dispersed, hardened subterranean networks requires an expenditure of cruise missiles and penetrators that rapidly drains peacetime stockpiles. Unable to launch a conventional air force to contest the skies over its own territory, Iran was forced to project power laterally. The conflict spilled out of the airspace and expanded directly into global shipping corridors. Direct naval engagements erupted in early 2026, including a confirmed strike where U.S. forces sank an Iranian Jamaran-class corvette at its pier in the Gulf of Oman. Iran retaliated by weaponizing geography. They targeted commercial merchant vessels, effectively bringing maritime traffic through the Strait of Hormuz to a standstill and choking a vital artery of the global energy supply. To enforce this blockade, they utilized asymmetric naval tools. They deployed unmanned surface vessels to approach and detonate against ship hulls at the waterline, while simultaneously seeding the shipping lanes with vast quantities of naval mines. Concurrently, Iran fully activated its regional proxy network. In the north, Hezbollah engaged Israeli forces in dense urban combat, relying heavily on systems like Cornet anti-tank guided missiles. To the south, Houthi forces expanded the theater from the Red Sea, deploying their own arsenals of one-way attack drones and anti-ship ballistic missiles to hit civilian cargo ships and launch long-range attempts at Israeli territory. This is the doctrine of horizontal escalation. By activating proxies and attacking merchant shipping, the adversary forces the U.S. and Israel to disperse their finite radar assets, naval platforms, and interceptor stockpiles across multiple secondary theaters. The kinetic exchange from 2024 to 2026 proves a critical lesson about modern arsenals. Having the most advanced standoff weapons ensures you will win individual tactical engagements. It does not ensure you will quickly disarm an entrenched state actor. This chart shows the limits of the Allied battle damage assessment. By March 2026, despite dropping massive penetrators and firing hundreds of cruise missiles, U.S. intelligence could only confidently confirm the destruction of roughly 33% of Iran's deeply buried ballistic missile arsenal. Beyond the technical data and missile intercepts lies a catastrophic physical reality. World Health Organization estimates from early 2026 record thousands of casualties and millions of displaced civilians across Iran, Lebanon, and Israel. This conflict laid bare the harsh economics of modern warfare. The ability to mass-produce cheap, solid-fuel missiles outpaced the coalition's ability to seamlessly manufacture multi-million-dollar interceptors. The result was not a rapid victory through technological supremacy, but a grueling, multi-theater war of sheer logistical exhaustion.